So, hello everybody, I'm here today with lovely Louise from Adore Your Pelvic Floor, and we're going to be talking about how the menopause affects our pelvic health and what is known as GSM, or genitourinary syndrome of the menopause. Now, the symptoms of this include vaginal dryness, burning and irritation, pain during intercourse, an urgent need to urinate, and persistent UTIs. And these symptoms are really, really common in women these days. Many women are really suffering in silence because some of these symptoms they feel are really embarrassing and difficult to talk about. And then other women are seeking help from their GPs, but finding that they're not getting the correct treatment and are literally really suffering for sometimes many years. So we're going to be talking about what we can do to help you, what is the right and the best treatment in these situations. And then also we're going to be talking about how old scar tissue from childbirth can actually become really problematic during the menopause too, which is something that I hadn't even really thought about myself, because I was so fortunate that I never did have any tears. But it all makes total sense that this would become very problematic. So I'm really looking forward to discussing this with Louise as well. So Louise, hi, how are you this morning?
I'm fine, thank you. Thank you for having me.
So Louise, can you please tell us, what happens during the menopause when our estrogen starts to decline, and how this affects our bladder and all our surrounding tissues and structures?
Absolutely, thank you, Sarah. So our hormones have to change, and we have the estrogen receptors from our head down to our toes, and that will include the estrogen receptors that we have within inside the pelvis as well, and our connective tissue. In fact, the bladder has estrogen receptors, and it's so common for women to suddenly start experiencing frequency, urgency, overactive bladder come the menopause stage in their life. On the Adore Your Floor program, women that are going through the menopause, nearly each and every time, frequency, urgency. There's stuff you can do for it on the Adore Your Floor program, absolutely. Also, local estrogen can really help, or HRT. So there are lots you can do. It's just when those symptoms start to occur, the natural reaction when you get that urgency happen is to panic and get hot and bothered, and actually that will have a direct result on the bladder and make everything worse. And so then you get into that pattern of quickly going to the toilet, maybe not getting to the toilet in time, taking the just in case toilets, and then the bladder just becomes more and more lazy, and you're just compounding the whole problem. So it's knowing how to address it can really, really help. And so that's with regards to the bladder. But as you said in the intro, there is so much more involved with the menopause, and the common things that everybody recognises and is happy to talk about will be the hot flashes, maybe the lack of sleep, excuse me, and your mood swings. But what people don't talk about, and I love talking about things that people don't like to talk about, we don't like to talk about them and bring them out into the open, is GSM, vaginal dryness, also known as vaginal atrophy. We don't talk about our vaginals areas, and we don't talk about our vulvas. I was so pleased the other day, my boys, they are having puberty conversations at school at the moment, I picked them up early, and they're going, "Oh, Mum, we're having puberty talk," and I went, yeah. And I was so impressed because I said, "What did you have to do?" And they said, "Well, we had to label a diagram with the lady bits." And I went, "Oh, yes." I thought, right, okay, bring it on, boys. So what did you label? And you know what? I was so happy because they said, well, the vagina is all the inside bit and the vulva is all the outside bits. And I went, well done. Yeah.
Really and good.
And then they were saying, and there's a place called the clitoris. Yes, well done. And I said, and perineum. And they said, anus. And I was over the moon, because we need people to understand our vulvas. We need to,
the anatomy of it, and not to be embarrassed by those words as well, you know, because the people kind of create new words, don't they, for all these bits and pieces down below. It's about, yeah, these are this is what they're called. We need to understand what they do and how they work. It's so important. So that's fantastic that your boys felt that they could really talk to you about that without feeling embarrassed.
Well, they have no choice with me. they hear me talking about it all of the time.
Yeah.
The important thing from that conversation is that I meet women every day of the week. I was talking to somebody who is in their mid-70s, and I was telling them this conversation that I've just said to you about my boy's puberty chat. And she said to me, oh, I didn't know that was a vulva. I thought it was all a vagina. And that's God's honest.
Wow.
I hear this every day. Every day. As females, we should know our own bits. And it's important that we check them as well. I'm already digressing, but I can't help it. When I've got the opportunity, it's so important. We will check our breasts maybe monthly. We should be. But do we check our vulvas monthly?
No.
Because if we don't know our own vulva, then we're not going to notice any changes. And that does actually link it to what we're coming to.
Yeah, totally.
And again, linking that conversation with my boys, we have our puberty talk when we are at school, but thereafter, we're left to work things out for our own devices, i.e. vaginal dryness, vaginal atrophy, GSM. And so this is what we're going to be talking about, the bits that people don't talk about. I'm also really keen to share resources. So there is me and my menopausal vag. I know this is back to front, but basically you can't miss that picture there. It's bright yellow background. That is her brand, and the lollipop. Lollipop. And I recommend anybody to. Her book is here. Jane Lewis. Again, I know it's all back to front, but me and my menopausal vag, or vagina. Was it there? Yes, it's a fantastic book because it really does explain in depth what we're going to be covering a bit today. Definitely
recommend that book, definitely. And it's about, she has a really good Instagram account as well, doesn't she? Lots of videos and really good resources to be able to fully understand what's going on in our bodies through the menopause and how and why it's changing. So definitely up on Instagram and Facebook as well.
So let's go into this whole idea of vaginal dryness. Okay, so a few years ago, I thought vaginal dryness just meant that you were drier down there, and so maybe on intimate relations it was a bit more uncomfortable, or you needed some lube. That's what I thought it was. I feel so naive on that feeling now to what I know now, but again, some women don't even know they have a vulva. They think it's a vagina only. So I'm going to I admit, I thought that was all it was. Well, it isn't. It's a lot more than that. And I'm so glad that I'm in the field that I'm in, because then when I actually did have vaginal dryness, I recognised the symptoms and I was able to go to the GP, and I personally, I have local estrogen, and that has made a huge difference. It's sorted it out for me. So I take
can you explain a little bit more about what is local estrogen?
So local estrogen will stay in the local area, so it doesn't travel around the body, and it just helps keep the lubrication going on there, and also the suppleness, the estrogen that we need. And if I go into this whole suppleness, I've got this sponge here, and if you think of our connective tissue and our muscles, they need to be like this.
All nice and soft and plump, so they can move, all the blood can flow freely through.
I love it. Carry on. I love it. That is exactly Oh, isn't it lovely? That is how we need them to be. But then as our hormones change, then it can become a lot, if you look at it with my hands, where it could be really nice and flexible, and flexibility means that you have strength as well. Without flexibility, you haven't got strength. So then it's less flexible, and it hasn't got the same strength. And with the change of hormones as well, then our on the undercarriage here, if we look at the perineal area, it can actually become less flexible and more problematic if you've had any old scars.
Yes.
So where you may have torn or had an episiotomy as a mum a few years back, come the menopausal age, the skin can get much thinner. And so then those scars where they weren't a problem, they may well have healed really well, but come the menopause, they can become more of a problem and they can become more uncomfortable because again, how the tissue starts to get thinner and less flexible and less moist. And so actually that's something to really, really be aware of.
Yeah, because it's interesting. I wonder how many women who do have tears, initially we might be massaging oil into our perineum and those tears afterwards, and then probably just then stop quite early on and then never think we have to worry about them ever again. But like you say, is that scar tissue can cause problems all over the body, really restrictive, but even more so down there, like you say. So would you say that massage with some oil would also help that continuously, or when maybe you get into the menopause, or what would you recommend?
Yeah, massage is good. Be careful what you use because it is a sensitive area, and that's why any sensitivity down that area becomes really obvious because it's so sensitive. Yeah, it's all open. It's all open tissue. You know, it is very sensitive. So we have our natural pH balance. So one of the things I would say, again, please do not use all these vaginal washes. If you can buy it on the shelf in the supermarket, it will not have the right pH balance.
Yeah.
That area will love water, water, water. Yeah. Not soap. So please do not buy it because that will aggravate everything up there.
Yeah, dry it out even more, won't it?
Oh, it's just awful. So yes. No rose-coloured, glitter, perfumed, smelling vaginas, please, because it's how they were made. So sorry, I digress slightly, but where were we? You were asking me.
It's asking about, we're talking about the scar tissue and how that affects it, and then massaging it.
Oh, that's what I was going to say.
So maybe after you come out of a bath or a shower, it's only going to take a couple of minutes. You don't have to be lying there for hours. Even get your partner to do it for you, couldn't you, really?
You could. So the things that you could use to help massage. Well, there's a few products, and one of them being Silk, and that is SYLK, and they've got, this is just a sample, but Silk, they are on Insta, they're on Facebook, you can Google them, and also Yes is another one. And I always say, right, I love a product of moisturizer serum for my face. I'm addicted to it. I don't buy shoes, I buy products. That's my guilty pleasure. I put it on my face, well,
why do you put it on your vagina? Yes, exactly.
This skin is just as important, if not more. It's finding the correct, and I know that Joe Divine as well have also got a new moisturizer or lube. So you've got moisturizers, and then you've got also sort of like internal, let's see what this actually says on here. You've got oil-based and water-based, and different ladies will appreciate different types if it's oil-based or water-based, yes. But this is a moisturizing gel. So this one here right now is a moisturizing gel, which you could literally use just under here as a moisturizer. But you can also use local estrogens around here as well. But please take advice from your health provider on that.
Yeah, so for that you would go to a GP and say, I would like some, I have read and understood that topical estrogen can help relieve my symptoms, and just ask them for their advice on that.
And when you go to the doctor, get examined. This is a massive thing. Okay, so when I've felt before that I've needed to go to the doctor, and I'm thinking, right, so I'm going to get an examination. Nobody is excited about that. But you'll probably put your best knickers on and you'll go to the doctor and you build yourself up for it. You go in, and we may not be clear enough in our explanation to the GP of what our intention of that appointment is. So that's number one. We've got our 10-minute slot. We need to be very clear to the GP what we are hoping.
Be prepared. I used to go in with a list.
Absolutely.
Go with what I wanted to talk about, because you can forget as well. So always write it down, and like be totally, like you say, on point and clear with what you want from your
And in fact, I actually now write down that list. I say, hi GP, and I give them the list, because guess what? They can read that list like that and they know exactly what you want. Because otherwise, I'm going to go, how are you, GP? Oh, I've had a bit of a journey here, and beat about the bush, and then I might get through my list, and that could be the end of the 10 minutes. And on your list, if you feel you need an examination, you need to stipulate you need an examination, because the amount of times I've thought I was going to have an examination, that's not occurred, and for one brief second, I'm like, oh, I don't need an examination. Excellent, got out of that one. Soon as I open up that door and close the door again, I'm then thinking, but what about that concern about that little bit there or that bit there? And I haven't got the answer. And no healthcare provider can give you a concise treatment plan if they haven't actually seen the area. And I've made a big point of this because it happens a lot. So please ask for an examination. So yes, your healthcare provider can then give you the treatment plan that you need, and you can take it on from there. And you have the resources from people like yourself, me and my menopausal badge, menopause support, Adore Your Pelvic Floor. There are lots of resources. You just need to know where they are. And then if you're not sure of what's going on, you can research through them to then take it to your healthcare provider.
Yeah, definitely. It's so important. And also using the most natural products you can to wash yourself as well, because we're all, there's so many products in the supermarket.
Which is only water, so it's only water.
Where you're using, like, women just use so many really strong products, washing themselves down there, with really strong shower gels, etc. The chemicals in them are so harsh for the skin down there. So, if you're not just using water, then it's looking for a product that is natural and has no harmful chemicals in whatsoever.
Yeah, and even that, I would say with caution. There isn't really any that I'm aware of. There are a couple, again, me and my menopausal badge, Jane Louise, will be able to maybe point to something that she will wash with to help keep things smooth and comfortable. But please, again, keep away from products. So again, ask Jane Louise on that one. Now, some of the symptoms of vaginal dryness. Okay, so again, let's come back to my personal experience. I had countless episodes of thrush when I was younger. It seemed to be a point where I was constantly having thrush. And it got to the point where I was getting bored of going to the doctor. And so then I was able to self-diagnose and buy it off the shelf. Yeah. Well, come the perimenopause, where I am now, I was like, oh, I feel like I've got thrush. Oh, and that would be so easy to go and self-administer. And you know what? So many of the times it isn't thrush, it is actual vaginal dryness. That's one of the symptoms of vaginal dryness. So again, please don't self-administer. Get checked out with your healthcare provider to check it is thrush. So that you're not taking medications that aren't correct for you. Another feeling I had was, I'm going to show you. So if I bring my camera down, I started sitting like this all of the time, If you think of ladies that are sitting in a residential home, how often do they sit with their legs really wide? And I started sitting, and I was just aware of my vagina area all of the time. I had low crotch trousers on, my legs were wide, and I'd be thinking, why am I aware of my vagina? For the first time in my life, it seems to be sort of like tapping me on the shoulder all day long. That was another symptom of vaginal dryness.
Right.
There was another.
Because it's looking for air.
But it had all the air in the world, because I even had the low crotch trousers that were down by my ankles with my knees out, with no knickers on, and I'm still aware of it. And it was like, oh, for goodness. And so again, luckily, I'm in the field I'm in, and that was another like, oh, okay, a little sign. There was one day that I remember, it was like, oh, my vagina feels it's on fire. What's going on? It's on fire. Again, another sign of vaginal dryness.
Yeah.
And you listed them earlier. It could be painful intercourse. That is another one. It could be repeated UTIs as well.
Yeah.
Again, a watery discharge, which is different from normal. Pain. There is just so many symptoms of vaginal dryness. And I just want women to be more aware so that they don't live with it because of the embarrassment, because you don't talk about vaginas, you don't look at your vulva. I mean, let's face it, it's not even that easy to look at it, is it? It's a little bit of an episode, but once you've worked out your system on how to check your vulva and have a look, and you may, because sometimes it could be that you've got some discomfort and you don't look down there. And then if you were to have an examination, that healthcare provider may even say, whoa, why didn't you come in earlier? Because there may be physical things that you can see the redness.
Yeah, and it's so interesting, isn't it? Because if it was anywhere else on our body, we'd be looking at it all the time to check on it every 5 minutes. But because it's there, it's for so many such an embarrassing thing to look at, you know. But don't be embarrassed. Just open your legs wide,
get over it,
and check it out and see what is going on there, and do this regularly, so that just like anywhere else on your body, you're aware of any changes and how it looks, you know. So if it is irritated, you need to see that irritation properly.
Yeah.
But just to clarify then, if that is the case, what would be, so obviously go to your GP. That would be your first port of call, wouldn't it? But what happens if you're not really getting the help and support that you need necessarily from your GP? What would you recommend then, Louise?
Yeah, I would seek a second opinion.
Yeah.
First and foremost.
Yeah, just if you're coming out of your session feeling really let down and disappointed, feeling like you haven't got those answers, then just go straight to reception and say, I'd like to see a different doctor, please. To get a second opinion. Don't just walk out that door and think, oh, that wasn't work. That was you.
And also know your subject, i.e. from sessions like this. And again, me and my menopause vagina, Jane has got so many IGTVs about this that, and you can ask her a question, or people can ask you a question, myself a question. If you know what you're dealing with, then you are going in ready for the GP, and yes, you know, read the book, because that will empower you to understand where you go, and how you can approach your GP, how you can maybe mention to your GP that you have seen this and it's been highly recommended, and they could drop names of, so Dr. Louise Mewson, she's very big in the menopausal world, and she's got lots of facts and figures, and on her website lots of information, so that actually you know what you're talking about. You've done some research. Yeah, so don't go in blindly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, totally. But there are treatments out there, like you say. So local, can you just explain a bit how local and topical estrogen works? Because that is safe, isn't it? Because it's literally just going onto your skin. It's not, you're not taking anything orally. It bypasses the liver. It is safe. It is literally a cream or a gel that you would rub on topically on that area. That is extremely effective. It's just replacing what you've lost in the estrogen. That will just literally that area back with hydration and moisture, making it all plump again and wonderful. And you know, I've met women who have suffered for years and years, actually in their 60s, with like recurrent UTIs, for example, and never ever been told to take any topical estrogen before, and then finally they have been, and then it's cleared the problem.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so if we know all of this already, like you were saying about researching and finding this information out for yourself, and we can go on to the doctor and say, this is what I've got, I have read, this can help, what do you think? And then they will say, yes, that does help actually, and prescribe you with some.
Yes, there's various ways of taking local estrogen. So I call mine, in my layman's terms, because that's me, I'm just a lady in the community, squirty cream. So, I have an applicator, and so there's the tube, and I put the applicator onto the, it's a screw lid, and then I squirt the cream into the applicator, and then I just insert it internally with the plunger. And you've got, if it's particularly sore down there and painful down there, there are different types of applicators you can use. Some are, you know, mine is absolutely fine. It comes with the product, or the prescription, should I say, and that I have no problem. But again, I know there are other applicators. Jane Lewis talks about that can be more comfortable to use if that was the case.
And do you do that every day?
No. So when you the general thing is that when you first go onto it, you have it every day for 2 weeks. Maybe again, depending on the healthcare provider's recommendation, and then I have it 3 times a week. And what is actually really important is that then the symptoms feel great, not to stop doing it. Otherwise, you're going to go back to having 2 weeks full course to then go back to 3 times a week. So you have to keep it going. So when the symptoms feel great, don't forget.
Yeah, and would that also help and relieve then, not just with that dryness and irritation, but then also would that also help with painful intercourse as well? Or would you
there's lots of reasons
use a good lube as well?
Yeah, so there's lots of reasons for painful intercourse. There could be vaginal tightness, pelvic floor muscle tightness in an area. It could be scar tissue. It could be our pelvic floor has to relax to let stuff in. So, you know, let's face it, intercourse, there's something going in there usually. So there's lots of reasons, and that could be a whole session in itself with intercourse. But that is one of the things, yes, local estrogen can assist with. And again, if you're using lube, then again, I totally recommend the Joe Divine one, which I can't remember the name of right now, but also Silk, and yes, I've got great lubes that are going to be kinder for the pH balance. So please don't just use anything. Use the 3 that I've just mentioned are great. Try them all out and see which one you prefer.
Okay, lovely.
Have I answered that question?
Yes, you have. Yeah. And then also about the moisturising the area, massaging the perineum. If we've had particularly bad tearing, it's something that we need to be doing always. Once that's happened during birth, to be doing that as just a habit, like we'd put on face cream or we'd put on body cream, that we would after bath or shower then just massage and rub some oil. Yeah. Some really natural, plain carrier oil is fine. Something like a coconut oil would be good.
Oh, no, it makes me nervous. It makes me nervous. I'm not saying no, but I'd rather say, you know, please, again, ask Jane Lewis, because she is the expert on that. That is her bag. I'm not saying no, but I'm not going yes. I feel more comfortable saying the products that I've mentioned. So the other thing is,
so those you would use, so the and the Silk
and the Divines, and
use those to massage with.
So you have them as a moisturizer, or you can take it internally if you're waiting for your local estrogen. It could be that you want to use one of their oil-based or water-based moisturizers internally to help by the time while you're waiting for the local estrogen, or some ladies will use it in between their local estrogen. It's getting to know what's right for you.
Totally.
And as far as checking your vulva, one of the ways that would be easier is, you know, like the little hand mirrors you get that have got the stand on at the back. To literally lie on the bed with supported legs nice and wide, put the mirror on the stand. That's going to give you a nice full view.
Yeah.
Rather than trying to like hold it, get down with your head.
Or you could just get your iPhone and take a picture.
You're killing me.
And then have a check, see what it looks like. And you can either keep it to compare it next time or just quickly delete it.
Oh my God, you could have a whole album. Just don't lose your phone.
Yes, or don't let your kids get a hold of it.
And remember, your phone watches everything. You're making me hot. The other thing I really like is, so there's the time when women may need pads.
Yeah.
And there's lots of reasons for pads. Okay, so I'm not an advocate for wearing pads because you're not being proactive in your pelvic floor health. That I'm not, but there are times when you may need a pad. And sometimes the pads can actually irritate your skin.
Yeah.
Okay, so there are lots of alternatives out there these days. One of them being NatureCare. I love NatureCare because these are completely organic, so organic that you can put them on a compost heap. That could be for periods. This is actually for periods because again, our periods can be all over the place come perimenopause time, can't they? And there's many other products out there that are actually nice and kind to the skin, because if that skin area is more problematic, then again, you may even want to consider what pads you are using.
Yes, definitely. It's very, very important to be thinking about that. Really important, like you say, because there's so many out there full of so much rubbish that will irritate your skin. If you're wearing them all day, then it's not really good.
I've got something here, just because I like muscles, pelvic floor muscles. So this is some of the pelvic floor muscles that we have at the base of our pelvis, and then they're all underneath as well, and there's muscles in between here and here. So we're talking about a complex group of muscles.
Yeah.
And all of those muscles are talking and moving and grooving together. And again, they need that flexibility to have strength and power. So I don't think
they're supporting so much, aren't they? They're holding and supporting so much. They need to be exactly in that right balance of not too tight, not too loose, just completely, supporting them through.
Maybe not so many people realise how many muscles are involved there.
Yeah.
And there is, and so it's getting to know the area. And going back to the frequency and the UTIs and the urgency, you know, it's the nighttime thing. So come the menopause, how many people are saying, you know, the insomnia or the lack of sleep? Well, if you're getting up, and this isn't unusual, Sarah, if you're getting up 4 to 6 times a night to go to the toilet, that's not going to help with your sleep. And yet you've got to function the following day. You've got to be able to go to work, or you've got to do your daily event for the next day, but you're getting
exhausted.
4 or 5 times. Then that doesn't help with your memory. That doesn't help with your fogginess. With the Doing Floor program, I can absolutely promise you the amount of ladies that are getting up in the night 4 to 6 times, within 2 weeks are finding they're only getting up once.
Yeah, that's incredible, isn't it? Absolutely incredible.
It's the
you need to explain a bit more about your program, how your program works, Louise, so that if people are watching would like, I recommend that all women within this age group definitely need to sign up to Louise's program to help understand their pelvic floor and how it works and how it helps with literally everything to do with our pelvic health. So Louise, tell us a bit more about your program.
Well, actually, like you said, and I'll be really brief because I don't want to go away from our subject, but it is a complete health program with all our toilet issues. And that is from going to a number 2, not to strain, to help avoid the constipation, because constipation is not going to help our pelvic floor. And how to do your number 2 without straining, because again, our pelvic organs are also being supported by our pelvic floor. And if we're straining, then that doesn't help things either.
Yeah.
And we cover everything from how to strengthen your pelvic floor, relax your pelvic floor, how to avoid the UTIs, how to avoid it. Women will find that they will sometimes have a wee, stand up, and then they've got another wee immediately. Sometimes it dribbles out of them, or it could be as they're washing their hands, oh, I need another wee. And we explain how this happens, but how you overcome it. And there's loads and loads of top tips. It's a very supportive program. Currently, I'm teaching it via Zoom. So it's in the ease of your own home. It's very small groups. You have a booklet, and you also have a support group there onwards, and you have a home functional program, and it is very affordable because I want all women to have access to it.
Yeah.
So
and is it over a period of weeks?
Yeah. So 4 weeks on Zoom. Yeah, 4 weeks on the Zoom. You have your booklet straight away. You're in the support group straight away, and then there's a 12-week home functional program, and I'm always available for questions thereafter. And on the support group, we keep throwing in more and more evidence. Everything we do is evidence-based. So we're throwing more and more evidence, knowledge, blogs, information, and there's always new evidence coming in. So it's a really supportive program. It's the information hub for women in the community. I've had GPs attend it for themselves. So I've had nurses, I've had midwives attend it, women that exercise, women that don't, women that have had issues for 20 odd years. And then they're like, wow, I didn't know that. Oh, and the feedback is purely wonderful. It's amazing.
It is amazing, and it's something I think that we all should, definitely do, because it's only going to massively help us going forwards forever, for the rest of our lives. It's so important, so important. And for women that are really suffering with these kind of issues, just read up and sign up. I would definitely. It's awesome.
Well, Sarah, that's been absolutely
fantastic. So we could talk for hours and hours because there is so much to cover. So we've just kind of gone over, the main issues really quickly. But if anyone has any questions at all, please just write a comment in below in the post, and one of us will get back to you. And we'll also put links as well in below to do with the products that Louise has talked about, Louise's program, and the links to the Menopausal Vagina book, everything for you, so that everything will be there. But please, if you have any questions, just write them in the comments. I'll get in touch with us. But thank you so much, Louise. Really lovely chatting with you this morning. And we'll be doing some more videos like this as we go into other subjects as well. But lovely. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. You're welcome.
Yeah, and speak to you soon. Bye.
Bye, darling.